We are in Buea, at the foot of the beautiful, sublimely beautiful Mount Cameroon in the Southwest Region of Cameroon. I'm taking you here in a modest house, a food is ready place where you can have your Achu in the midday, a nice lunch, and we are modern here. There's even CNN there for those who could be watching and having a snack or a little bit of the Achu. As you see it here, this gentleman has just finished his own. It's a very relaxed and cozy atmosphere. Chatting, even in traditional African language or with a smile, happens here often. It's a very nice place, as I said. Very simple, easygoing, and clean and proper. And you see there are 2 dishes, and people just have their fun in this African setting, in Cameroon, in the heart of Africa. Yes, and so said, I came here at this juncture, and I met one of my bosses around the place. This is Kong Wache, the executive editor of the Post newspaper, which is the leading English language newspaper in the Republic of Cameroon. And as of yesterday, when Pope Benedict XVI announced his renouncing power very soon as the Pope of the Roman Catholic Church, Kong Wache, being from Bishop Rogan College, a very Catholic Christian community, he has some ideas about how spirituality, as from the Christian perspective, works. But again, as an African, we want to hear from him. What was your feeling, sir, as you heard the abdication of the Pope?
Well, you know, yesterday I listened to the news, and one of the things I learned was that the Pope cannot abdicate because he is not a monarch that runs away from his power. The Pope does not also resign because he does not hand over his intentions to leave office to any other person. So all he does is that he renounces his position. And I think I listened to his words of leaving office with a lot of respect, because he indicated to me that man who recognizes the fact that he is no longer physically capable of handling a certain position should be able to honorably step down. That was my first reaction. My second reaction was the fact that, unlike most observers, most people, I am aware of the fact that Pope Benedict XVI was the alter ego of John Paul II and had worked for 25 long years, as a very close aide. And I'm sure that during that period, his energy was depleted, and it was actually just time for him to step down, and maybe find a monastery where he's going to spend the rest of his life in prayer.
And being an African, since yesterday we hear this rumor, let's put it that way, that this may be time for Africa once more. And eyes are in Accra, looking at a certain Ghanaian cardinal. As an African, what does that spark in you?
Well, it sparks in me that the time for Africa has come. It will only go a long way in evangelizing the hordes of other Africans who have not joined the Catholic faith. Other regions of the world have had an opportunity, and I just think that we should be able to imagine that an African, namely Cardinal Peter Turkson, would be able to pick up the mantle of leadership of the Catholic Church. But as Turkson said, this is not a time for us to get engaged in wild speculation. It is time for us to put it in prayer and hope that if it is an African, it will go a long way in, sparking a new kind of a renaissance, in the Catholic faith, which we find dwindling, particularly in other continents of the world. You will know that the Catholic Church in Africa is actually just spiraling, and Europe is dwindling. So maybe this could be an indication for the faith, to spread now from Africa back to where it started. So I am very optimistic that the time for Africa has come. I can't just wait for the 1st of March to hear that Texan is the new sovereign pontiff.
Yes, time for Africa came when the World Cup was organized in South Africa. Before then, we never thought it was possible. Lesson to be drawn as a Cameroonian with an 80-year-old president sitting in Yaounde and saying he looks very young and dynamic and ready to go on and on and on. Lesson to be drawn from the abdication, or as you said, renunciation of the Pope.
Well, I will hate at this moment to mix the dirty idea of politics with religion. Not as if I don't have political views, but I think that this is a moment for meditation, a moment for prayer, a moment for inward inspection, and praying that the voice of God will be heard. As for the political issues, I would like to talk about that later, some other time.
Oh, that's a politician talking, not the executive editor of the newspaper.
This is a very staunch Catholic talking. And I imagine, one of the great quotations we learned in college was that you give to Caesar what is Caesar and give to God what is God. So all I'm saying is that I'm going to allow politics for political moments and talk about religion now, because I need the Pope first, and then I'll talk about my president later.
The outgoing Pope announced his resignation in Latin, the real lingua franca of the Roman Catholic Church. Anything you can say to us in Latin?
I will say that even though the Pope has stepped down, ad multus annus means let him have many more years on earth.
That's a great one. Yes, sir. Please, my girl, come. Hello. Come here. Hold this camera on me, please. Just hold it for me. Just hold it like this, steady, like on my face. Yes. So you have heard from Francis Wache, the executive editor of the Post newspaper based here in Buea, the foot of Mount Cameroon. He refuses to get into the politics of it all. But I will, because I belong to Libertas Veritas Probatus. Liberty, truth and integrity. Liberté, vérité, intégrité. So we also have heard, maybe that was last week, sometimes when there was that walking session, famous one in Paris, of our president and the president of the French Republic, François Hollande. Our president, after that session at the Elysee, came out meeting the French journalists and arrogantly said, "Look at me, do I look like I am old and tired?" So in other words, at 80, the African man, leader of Cameroon, says he's a young man ready to go on and on and on. While the European man with all the pegs of powers at the Vatican tells you at 86 he's tired and he's better to leave it. I don't know why. Because again, yesterday I was looking at something on my Facebook, and Issa Hayatou, the president of CAF, is saying that he's also going in for the 7th term of office. 25 years is not enough for the president of CAF. He wants 4 more years. Like father, like son. So I'm saying, we Africans are crazy. Just look at what Stephen Keshi did in Nigeria. Despite swallowing all the curses, he persevered, went down South Africa, got the cup for the Nigerians, and then came back and said, "Okay, you curse me? Yes, even though I'm on my victory now, take it back." So we should learn lessons from gentlemen like Kechi and our Pope Benedict XVI, who has just resigned. This is Patrick Siane talking from Buea in the Southwest Region of Cameroon, the proud man who believes you just have to leave the stage when the applause is still great, and not wait until when everybody has turned his back, and then you live in shame. Owoga, Monsieur le Président Paul Biya of Cameroon. Bye-bye. Thank you very much. To the Lord be the glory. Peace, work, fatherland. Cameroon, we salute you.